Okay, so myself and Ms. Johnson came in on Friday between noon and 1 o'clock.
Last week?
Yes.
That's right.
We filled out registration documentations. We turned them in. They were stamped, because I watched them. Stamped, they were put in the common box. There was nothing in the common little metal box at the time when they were actually put in. Upon coming back, which is Tuesday, around 1 o'clock, maybe 5 minutes after 1. At that time, I was turning in an additional 13 registration, change cards fee, their initial registrations, which alterations changed. Something told me to check on the previous stamped registration cards that, I submitted between 12 and 1 o'clock on Friday. And upon doing so, there was no updates and nothing had been changed. So I began to inquire about why things weren't changed.
It basically is 2 days later, right? We're usually not that efficient.
The actual registrations, I'm Joel, the registration supervisor, and those registrations were actually on somebody's desk being processed, and the individual that signed them out, I couldn't read the initials, so it was either one of two persons, and as the individuals that were helping them were looking through the bin, trying to figure out where they might be, at that point. So then I stepped in, and we did find them on somebody's desk. They hadn't been processed yet. So immediately we had an individual process them while they were at the counter.
Eddie, the day she turned it in and it's stamped, once it goes in the system, is retroactive to the day that it was stamped.
Right.
Okay, can I, if this were the 8th when we were to bring things in, and petitions need to be turned in on the 9th, and if it's sitting on somebody's desk, how is it that we get credit for turning it in on the 8th?
Well, the timestamp date on there, whether it gets done the 10th, the 11th, or the 12th, it still gets put back to the date that you had submitted it. So the timestamp, that's why we timestamp everything in the office, so that if we are backlogged, there are times we're backlogged weeks. And, I have 600,000 voters. So we're going through getting everybody updated, modified, name changed, whatever it might be. And that timestamp date is the identification of the time that it actually the transaction took place. So that's where your information does get backlogged to the proper date. As long as you're here in time, it's a valid registration for that petitioning process or registration.
I question the vigorous search for these things.
Well, if they couldn't read the initials, that would cause part of it.
Well, that was the initial part of it. It was the way that it was scribbled on there. I couldn't read it, so I wasn't sure who had it. So we were looking on everybody's desk, as well as I had two individuals looking through trays. So we were, there were a variety of people, adamantly looking for this registration for you. And it wasn't until about 10, 15 minutes into it when I asked, "What's going on?" That's when they brought it to my attention, and then within a few minutes, we had found it, and then I had it put through.
And did Ms. Johnson's they were done almost simultaneous on Friday.
They were on the same desk. So it just so happened that individual I couldn't read, and it just so happened they were one right after the other. You guys, did you come at the same time?
Why don't you explain the
process?
process?
Yeah. Well, registrations, you come in and you obviously fill out a voter registration, whether it's through the mail, the DMV, or at the counter. You guys came to the counter. They then come in here and they sit in a basket. Somebody collects them.
Well, they're stamped.
They're all stamped in. They get into a basket, and then we take them into the scanning department. We count everything that's come into this office. They get scanned in. They get put in a batch electronically in the system. Somebody then comes up, and one of the employees comes up, grabs it, signs it out, and they go to their computer and they actually process it. And then once they process it, it goes into an editing tray, and then another employee, opposite party, will edit that information that it's valid and it's correct. Then once that's done, it then gets put into a filing cabinet, and it's categorically in order, so that if any questions come up, I'm immediately able to go and find that.
But before it goes to the person's desk, it's scanned through.
Yep.
And any images are taken of the thing, so we have a record of that. Then the person who's got it on the desk links up the name with the image.
Well, whose desk were they found on?
One of the
What's
clerks.
What's the difference?
One of the clerks.
What's the difference whose desk it was at?
In the meantime, the
There was
I
an
guess
image
my
scanned into the
question is
system
this.
already.
if it was, you came in and you filed it, and it was timestamped, it's valid. You come in 2 days later and you want what?
You're missing the part.
I think you're missing the fact that I'm just verifying and checking to make sure
You want to
that
make
my
sure you have
address
a
had
registration.
changed.
Okay,
You know,
and we
because-
said that we will it sometimes takes a number of days in order to process it. So when you came in on Tuesday, I guess it was, and
Dennis.
everybody jumped, and we found,
You're the gentleman that arranged 4 years ago to challenge my petitions. Let me finish my statement before you continue. Board of Election in Albany passed my petitions. I don't trust you. I don't trust your staff. I'm running against status quo, and this is status quo in here. A lot of these jobs are patronage jobs. I'm going to watch you like you're watching me. I'm here to tell you that. I'm here to protect the right of the citizens and my right to run as a candidate for United States Congress. Make sure, because we're going to watch and we're going to bring attorneys if we have to make sure that this Board of Election gives me a fair share in the fair process. Like when my staff gets nervous, comes back to me crying about what took place here. I got a lot of money invested, I got my family, kids, and everybody involved in this. I'm not going to allow you to manipulate the system, or anybody in here to manipulate the system.
the
Yes.
system was not manipulated. It was processed correctly. The employees handled
I
it properly.
Yes, well then I would recommend maybe some staff retraining, because when I stated that I came in here on Friday between noon and 1 o'clock, and it's Tuesday that I'm asking you about it, your staff should have known. They should have known and been able to respond and say, you just came in here Friday, that the process takes, they should have had an explanation.
Well, there was-
They should have been able to tell me what you said, instead of them running around nervous, running around like
Right.
it was something that should have took place and happened that day.
Couldn't tell you exactly
Excuse me,
what
just for a
Marcy-
second. It is not the employee's responsibility to handle it at that point. That is a supervisory answer. And I came to you and gave you a copy when they approached the supervisor. And that's what the employees perhaps should have done. They should not have looked on their own volition for you. They should have come and gotten a supervisor, which they did. After a while, they came and got Joel because they couldn't find it. It's not their responsibility to find the stuff. It's the supervisor's
I
responsibility
didn't.
to keep track of
That's
the.
not what I said. What I said is that if I turned in something on Friday and I'm coming Tuesday, why wasn't the response from the staff that it usually takes a few days for it to hit the database and enter the
Do
system?
you know who you talked to, so I could take that issue up with that one person?
I can point her out.
Okay,
She's
and
there
I will
now,
make
sitting
sure
at
that
her
they
front
know in the
desk.
future to say that. But,
So if she was panicked, then I was panicked also.
okay, I know you were panicked, but you don't need to panic. We're not here to pick on people. I've been here 37 years, and in all the years I've been here, and I've been through a lot of commissioners, and I've been through a lot of chairmen, I can honestly say that we process every registration that comes through, and the same way. We don't show favoritism.
Right.
And I've been here 37 years. So what you're accusing of right now is wrong and unjust.
What kind of
I'm
training
saying
procedures
that's
are
it.
required
I'm
of
sorry, I'm sorry
entry-level
if you misunderstood
employees?
somebody or misunderstood the process, but we did indeed find those registrations for you.
Hold it, right here.
So all this
This is a
defensiveness
public
needs to
meeting.
stop.
Everybody here is entitled to be here and you're entitled to speak. This is not a question and answer period. So you're entitled to make your statements. If you have any questions, you can submit them to us and we'll answer them. We try to be accommodating here, but we're not going to sit here and have a dialogue.
Yeah, if you've got something that's time sensitive because you've got somebody who's circulating petitions and you want to make sure, I can understand that you got somebody who's circulating petitions, you want to make sure they're registered and stuff.
Right.
I mean,
We
I
know
think,
because we asked.
talk to Joel, contact Joel
Or either office manager, Beth or myself, and we'll make sure
their
that they expedite
supervisor,
it.
and they can
We've
just
done
got it right there.
That's all I'm asking for.
We've done
is
that.
to
I mean, we
put
take
a-
our job very seriously.
I'm not saying
Yeah.
anybody here is playing with my petitions or
sincerely
anything
hope
like
not.
that, or my registration cards. I just want to make sure that this process is fair to myself and to them. We're all working in this. It's supposed to be free democracy, right?
Definitely.
That's all I'm
understand
asking
that
for. I do not see anything. I can understand the technicalities that you're explaining. I accept them personally, but I'm also here playing defense because I've experienced something bad 4 years ago, and I want to make sure it doesn't happen to me
Yeah.
foolishly.